There are so many things that we want to do, but I think it's not a technology problem or limitation. It's more about a direction, focus, and manpower resources to make sure that we do the right things for our company's vision and for our customers.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. In this episode, we have on Omri Weinberg, who is a co-founder and chief revenue officer of Do Control, which is a cybersecurity company focused on securing SaaS applications. He has over 17 years of experience in sales, business development, marketing, and operations. His career highlights include growing Safe DCS ARR from 5,000 to 2 million in 2 years, leading to its acquisition by AppLovin, as well as Employee of the Year for 888.com, one of the biggest gambling outlets in the world. Omri has a BA in Business Administration from the Interdisciplinary Center Herzliya, and we're excited to have him on the show because he has an incredible amount of experience in the space of sales, marketing, customer acquisition, and I'm excited to welcome Omri. Thanks for joining me on the program today.
Absolutely. Nice chatting with you, Devon. So thanks for having me, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute some of my experience to the audience.
Yeah, and on that note, I'd love to get a Cole's Notes version of a little bit of your background, where you came from, and how you kind of landed here with Do Control.
Sure. Originally, I'm from Israel, but I moved here to the States like 10 years ago. Actually, I grew up into a family business that my father co-founded like 60 years ago. That we were manufacturers in the Far East, very different than what we do or what I do today. Mm-hmm. We sold that business, and then I wanted to do some other things in life, and I was very fascinated by online marketing and online sales and everything that has to do with the internet, basically. So in 2007, I embarked with my second life, basically, which is I started as a sales manager with this company that you mentioned, 888.com, one of the biggest online gambling operators in the world. And that was an amazing school for me to understand how things work online when it comes to demand gen, marketing, SEO, PPC, SEM, being flying all over the world for like on shows. So that was a good experience for me. From there, basically what happened is I wanted to start my own company, and we did Gigatonic, me and another co-founder named Amit Or. Wasn't the biggest hit, but it gave me a good experience about what is it to raise money and how is it to grow and build a company. From there, what happened, basically, I moved to a company called Matome Media Group. Back in the days, it was a small, intimate group of a few dozen employees. We had the same shared investors as Gigatonic, and there was a role that was a good fit for me, and I joined, and basically I grew a sales operation from zero, or basically from 1 to almost like 40 people globally. And then we took the company public in the London Stock Exchange. And one of the reasons for me to be here is I moved from Israel to the States because we acquired a few companies, and I was the first executive to move here to the States. That was a long 6.5 years, but then I got a call from a VC back in Israel to join Safe DCS, which is an amazing company co-founded by Ronnie and Orly. I joined them, and I helped them take the company from a great product to some kind of a product market fit with actual sales in the millions. And we were able to sell the company. I stayed with AppLovin for 6 months or so, and then I met Adam in New York, my founder and my co-founder, basically. And we thought that we need to start Do Control because there is a need in this world for what we do. Just in a nutshell, a lot of companies today, they work with SaaS applications to drive business like we do now. We have Zoom. But there's so much data that is being stored in those SaaS applications, whether if it's Zoom, like Zoom recordings or GitHub repositories or Google file like Word files in Google Drive and messages in Slack. And companies have no clue or good understanding about who has access to those type of data. They're just out there. And whether if it's internal use, externally being used, and even if they know that, it's very hard to remediate the access. So this is what we do in a nutshell. But the conversation is not about Do Control, but it's good to give some high-level understanding about what Do Control does.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of explore that a little bit. Who typically would be a customer or a client of Do Control? Is this for like really big companies?
Great question. So basically, every company in the world that has some kind of SaaS components into their day-to-day business can be a good Do Control customer. We try to focus on companies that are anywhere between, let's say, 500 employees to, let's say, 30,000 users, give or take. Mostly companies, hopefully, that were born into the cloud, so they don't have any on-prem stuff, but more robust technology, very modern technology, very reliable on collaboration in the cloud. Because if you think about it, post-pandemic, everybody's working from home. Everyone, suddenly a company has like 10,000 offices and not just 1, 2, or 3 main headquarters, right? So by connecting to those companies and working with them and selling to the CISOs or the security team or corporate security, we help them really visualize all of their data exposure in those SaaS applications. Because if you think about it, those SaaS applications are not part of the organizations. It's like a shelf product. It's a third-party app that has a lot of your proprietary intellectual property sits or resonates in those ecosystems. And in most cases, it's mission impossible to understand what kind of data is there, who has access to it. And and as I mentioned, even if you know that, how do you remove that in a way that doesn't hurt the business enablement? Because you can easily shut everything down and say, hey, you cannot collaborate, you cannot use Zoom, your Microsoft company use only Teams, don't use Slack. But the world is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area, and this is where we are helping companies.
I imagine that your audience then being the companies that you're aiming at serving, the audience is probably pretty small. And I can't imagine that your marketing pipeline would involve any front-facing content or marketing in the traditional sense of like putting out videos or explainers or things like that. I imagine a lot of the work that you guys do to acquire customers is more like networking and handshaking and having conversations. Is that true?
It's a little bit of both. At the end of the day, I'm a big believer in like going into events, shaking customers or prospects' hand, building those relationships, getting the word out there on the ground, right? But because I'm here in Miami, my partner is in New York. We have a team in Israel. We have a team in Florida, in other parts of Florida, in LA, in Boston, and so it's not always easy to travel all day long and to meet people. Although we try to do that, right? So that we do go to the traditional, marketing tactics like the SEO of the world, like the Google search, LinkedIn ads, all of those tutorials that we're trying to promote, building content. It's a mix of all, but we try to make sure that everything that we do, we always measure it in the best possible way to make sure that we're not spending the marketing funds in the wrong avenues. So ROI for us is very important. We try to make sure that every dollar that we spend, we see some kind of return on investment. It's not always the best ROI, but sometimes it's like finding oil in the ground, right? So there is oil there. You're not sure exactly how much you need to dig into. Right. And sometimes you just abandon this area and you go to find oil in different places. But we have a pretty good hunch about where we need to find this oil, basically, or prospects that will need a tool or solution or platform like Do Control.
Yeah, the idea now that you're serving such a small, tight-knit group of people with a very, very specific solution probably presents its own set of challenges in terms of how you create and manage those relationships. I'd love to get your perspective on or your approach on how you guys are managing that.
Cool. When we started Do Control, basically, it came out because of a need that I saw in my previous company, and same as Adam while he was working for Google. And when we started to talk to the market about what is it that we do, a lot of potential prospect or people that we talk to in this area, in this field, said that traditional solutions, and in our world is like CASBs and DLPs, are not giving them the solution that they actually need. So our solution or the platform that we provide it's not a niche. It's pretty broad, but the way that we tackle it is very modernized. It's very different. So when we talk to customers or prospects, future customers, hopefully, we they get what we do. If they are agreeing to what we do, if our approach is the best possible approach for them, that's something that we need to educate. We need to, prove them that sometimes what they do is wrong. And this is where, hopefully some of the case studies that we do, the customer that we support today, we work with like amazing Fortune 100 and companies from the retail, from finance, and so on. So obviously the things that what they've done till now is not actually working. By leveraging Do Control can change the way that they do business and secure their data. And I think that's something which is it's not always easy to understand, but this is where Do Control comes in with our marketing team, people on the ground, in shows, educating, explaining. And there are a lot of other analyst firms that are starting to support and, talk Do Control language, which I'm very happy to that they're doing so, because if you were talking to me like 3 years ago when we just embarked with this idea, it looked like far-fetched. But now, suddenly top analysts are talking Do Control language, and we see other players in this space adopting our language and adapting our go-to-market with our product approach. It's very flattering.
Yeah, mimicry is the highest form of flattery, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard that, and I know that, and I can clearly see that. And it just means that the wave is here, and the wave is becoming more and more. It's bigger. It's bigger at any given time. It's becoming bigger.
Yeah, well, and the space is constantly evolving too. I know just myself being in the marketing arena, things that were brand new 5 years ago and really, really crushing it are completely obsolete now in their application, just because, as the old adage goes, marketers ruin everything. So I imagine that as technology is evolving, that poses its own set of challenges and good things too. What are some of the ways that you guys are leveraging AI and technology to serve your clients better?
So first of all, when it comes to our own proprietary technology, the product that we serve, we use a lot of AI in the data classification, the modeling, the risks that we find. Obviously, it pushes the boundaries of what we can do with technologies, and also the technology that we're building as we speak. Those things could not be found, like, let's say 10 or 15 years ago. And when we compare us to our competitors nowadays, most companies, their technology was built like during that time, 15 years ago. And it's very hard for those companies to do the adoption and change or rip and replace their entire technology stack, tech stack, to fit today's needs, right? This is why bigger companies, some of them are innovating, but some of them are buying companies like Do Control because they need to fill a gap that maybe did not exist like 10 or 15 years ago, but now it's a time because technology evolved, the way that people are doing their business is evolved, and they need to change that, right? But leave that aside, when the technology, even for our own day-to-day, like take customer support, right? I don't need today to have a fully operated customer support person to answer my client needs, right? For some sophisticated stuff, we need to. But if there are random questions that keep coming, we have an AI that actually serves the answers in a much better manner than I could possibly do or answer. Because we have so much repositories of information, whether if it's in our Google Drive or Confluence or Slack or whatever, that someone in the past have asked that question already. And with us training the system, and adding more and more data layers and improvements to our offering, the answer is always getting better and better. And even if you hire more people, the machine always know what happened in the past, what happened, and what's happening now. And you don't need to train; it trains itself constantly. So that's something. It's a great example that we leverage today.
So is that third-party stuff that you're using, or is this something that you've kind of internally developed?
No, we are not we're not in favor of building stuff that already exists. And a good the biggest evidence for that is do control. Sometimes customers ask us, "Can you do this, that, and that?" We tell them, "No, we don't want to do that because there are other companies that already solve that. You can go there, or you can go there, but for this specific problem, you should use do control because no one else have done it the way that we've done it." And for the other examples that I just gave you is we basically try to use as much technology as possible out there instead of building it ourselves, because there's so many little niches in this ecosystem, like the AI support that I just give you. I don't need to build like a model, an AI model support. I just take something out of the shelf, I train it a little bit, I connect it to my repositories, I make sure that it doesn't fall short in most cases, and it's working.
So that process of integrating the technology, testing it out, and then rolling it out as a public-facing tool, I imagine that poses a set of challenges that are very unique in that, for example, there was a car dealer that was in the news recently who had deployed a chat bot on their website, and that chat bot made a deal with somebody that was not favorable for the dealership. And then when they went through court proceedings for it, they ruled in favor of the customer because it was the dealership's responsibility to vet that software, and if the software is making these promises, they got to live by that. So I'm curious, have you encountered any kind of horror stories like that in your?
So first of all, I haven't heard about this specific example. I'm gonna look it up. It's very interesting and a funny one. But because we deal with security, and when we are a security company by default, right? So everything that we do, we take it with very severe cautious, right? Every partner that we plug into, we don't have a lot of partners, third-party partners that we work with, right? We leverage a lot of GCP and the AWS and so on. Obviously, everybody in the world works with them. And if we have some other tools that we need, like this AI engine or anything else, we always make sure that they fit the highest set of compliance out there. The SOC of the world, the ISO of the world, and so and so. Because otherwise, we will not be able to do business with our clients or future prospects. Because they see us as a critical part when we are connecting to their environment, and we need to make sure that what we do is secured in the most possible way.
So this might be a tricky question, Omri. And you might not have something for this, but what can the technology, or what gap is there that the technology is not yet filling in that you are looking forward to or hoping that over time we kind of evolve into?
Wow, if I'm looking in, so I'll try to break it into a few pieces, because obviously we have a lot of things, regardless of the technology and the promise or what we can do in the future. I think there's so many features and direction that we want to take our product to, but there's limitations, not just I don't think the limitation is around technology. I think it's about the resources, the vision, the manpower, and the direction that we want to take. Because there isn't, take Google, take Microsoft, take NVIDIA, take any other company, like the top 3, top 5 companies in the world. If you think about it, they have all the resources in the world, money, manpower, technology. So why are they buying companies in the dozens every year? Because in most cases, those companies, and like Do Control in our own small world, we are very, very, very good in 1 or 2 or 3 things, right? We cannot be good in 5 to 10. But in the first 3, we are the best in best of breed in what we do. And if you look at Google or Facebook or Microsoft or NVIDIA, they do chips, they do the Windows or the search, whatever. And that's the cash and cow, right? I'm sure they have like hundreds of other good products, but I'm simplifying it for the sake of the example, right? So if you look at Do Control, there are so many things that we want to do, but I think it's not a technology problem or limitation. It's more about a direction, focus, and manpower resources to make sure that, we do the right things for our company's vision and for our customers.
That's so interesting that's the perspective. You're reminding me of an interview that I remember hearing. I think it was Warren Buffett talking about, hey, if you want to achieve something great, you got to write down the top 25 things that you want to do, your big goals. And then out of that list of 25, you're going to shortlist 3. And those are going to be the only 3 things that you focus on. And you're going to do everything in your power to avoid the other 22 because you're never going to be able to see those things come to life. That's somebody else's thing. You have to pursue those 3 things. So is that the same
if Warren, the big Warren said that, and I said it now, so I maybe it's in my conscience. I heard it somewhere, but yeah, that's our philosophy for sure. So I'm big advocate of that.
Yeah, that focus is, I'm sure, what attributed to a lot of your successes so far is the idea that you're going to just stay focused on that one thing, do it very, very well, and take it to its absolute.
I'll tell you more than that. There's a lot of times when prospects tell us, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" We can do everything. On paper, we can do everything. We've built an amazing technology right now, which is super, super sophisticated, with a few patents already written and granted. But again, we've done it very focused on what we're trying to achieve. We didn't look to the right. We didn't look to the left. If it's a mistake or not, time will tell, right? But I think we are the best of breed in what we do currently. And focus is something every company or every team, regardless of what they do, should adopt.
So, yeah, staying in your lane, doing your thing, and pursuing it with passion and purpose is such a valuable way to look at things and keep that frame when you're building a business and growing things. And I admire the resilience to say no to opportunity because of the dedication to that specific goal. I think that's super super admirable as a quality in a leader such as yourself, which is really awesome. One of the things that I would love to get your perspective on is what's on the horizon for the work that you're doing. What's coming down the pipeline for Do Control? What are you kind of excited for in the future?
Me being on focused mainly on the business. Obviously I understand the product, the technology, but my partner Adam and our great team, Itai and Guy, and the rest of the team that are focusing on product and technology, they do their own things. What excites me the most, and something that I've been doing from day one, is building those relationships, building the business on the financial aspect, bringing the revenue, bringing the clients, retaining the clients, expanding the clients, building partnerships. And that's something that always excites me. When it cannot get old, someone signs a new deal, whether if it's a $50,000 deal or $200,000 deals, it excites you because it means that someone showed confidence in what you've built. You brought value to them, whether if it's something tangible or something else, it doesn't really matter. You brought value, and it was very important for them to go to their managers, to bring the budget, to go through procurement, legal, whatever, sign a check and pay you. So this achievement by itself is something that you can get tired of, right? And it's funny is because I remember that from day one I remember exactly where I was when we sold our first deal for $4,000 a year after building the company. After 3 months of something that has, nice look and feel, very fragile. But then someone said, you know what? I can use that for $4,000. Just the other day, closing a deal for $70,000 or $200,000. You see how things are evolved and how things are building up. And I'm always trying to find, okay, when is the next time I'm going to sign? We haven't done it yet. We were very close to sign $1 million sized deal. I think it's going to happen. We have it, but it's always what's next? What's next? And I think that's what excites me the most. Obviously, there is a lot of product features and gaps that we need to overcome, and product expansions that we need to do within our space. and that always excites me. But again, you're building that. It's like preparing a meal, like a chef. Think about it. Someone needs to eat that and say, "Wow, 5-star, amazing," right? So until no one buys it and pay for it, and it's like somewhere in the air. So we've proven that we can sell to top enterprises today, as I mentioned earlier, like top hedge funds and retail and cybersecurity companies and financial institution. But you always want to do more. You always want to expand. You always want to make it bigger. You always want to make it better.
Yeah, that's exciting to be a part of something that evolved so dramatically from that $5,000, $4,000 deals to $500,000 deals or $1 million deals on the horizon. I think that's incredible, and you're doing great work, and just deserved for sure. Omri, to kind of close things off here, I always like to ask my guests a bit more of a high level question, which is, if you were to have one piece of advice for somebody in a similar role as you who is exploring these technologies and looking to improve and grow their own business, what would that piece of advice be?
There are no shortcuts. You need to work hard. Luck is always important. If you have luck on your side, that's amazing, because luck is equivalent to timing and so and so. But in order to be in the right time, in the right place, you always need to build yourself. You always need to grind. You always need to have this grit. You can't stop for a moment. Nothing will fall from the sky, and no one else will do the job for you. Obviously, you have a team, departments, whatever. Each one is responsible. But you always need to be like to set example and to be like the first in line to pull everybody around you and behind you, because they see you and they say, okay, you set example. And if you're slacking, and if you're lazy, or if you're not accurate in what you say, and if you're not passionate about what you do, this is what reflects. This is what other people are seeing within your organization. So you always need to shine in a good way and set examples and work hard, because work hard pays off. There's no shortcuts. Sometimes there is luck. Sometimes there is timing. It's very, very important, as I mentioned. We all need it. But this is not up to you. What's up to you is the grinding, is the grit, is the hard working.
I'm a huge subscriber to the idea that luck is when hard work and opportunity meets, and you don't know when that's going to happen, and that's what makes it luck. But if you're not prepared for the opportunity, it's going to pass you by. So your wisdom there is definitely valuable in that it inspired and motivated this idea that you still have to do the thing, you still have to stick to it. You have to show up, if not for anybody around you, just for yourself, to prove that that opportunity is something that you deserve. So I love that that's the wisdom that you've imparted on people. Omri, if somebody wanted to reach out after this conversation to pick your brain further or perhaps work with you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm always available via LinkedIn. Omri Weinberg in LinkedIn. Easy to find. Omri, OMRI, Do Control IO. I love talking to people, help people get connected, build relationships. And even if not, connect people to other people. I think it's like a turning wheel, it's like a sliding doors, or I don't know what kind of examples, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. Because, we live in, it seems like a very global and huge world, right? But in LinkedIn, you are 2, 3, 4 clicks away from the person that you actually need to talk to. And if you have the good relationship or the good connections and the good cycles, you can get to anyone.
Wonderful. If you want to get in touch with me and my team for any reason, it's nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Omri, thanks for joining me. I will see everyone else in the next one.